Page 10. Okay, so we're discussing waking up in the morning. So also we're discussing about davening in the morning. Talk about saying Aser Dibros and stuff like that. So in the Vav, again, it's on the top of page 10. Harshos HaKarbanos Lo Yomar Elo B'Yom. In the morning after the morning brachos, we have all this, what they call karbanos, right? All the karbanos that are possible. So you shouldn't say those until it's for sure day, because they didn't bring karbanos at night. So again, this is a very interesting halach when you think about it. We should realize this whenever we daven, and that is that if for example we say we something like one of these things like a korban, so it's as if we're bringing it. Hashem said, if you learn it, if you say it, you learn it, so to speak. So it's as if you brought it. Huh?
That's a very stupid question.
Yeah.
Karbanis.
Yeah.
And we say every day. The very first karbanis is a Gatus Yitzchok. It wasn't a korban.
Right. So we'll talk. Right. No, but he's talking about the things after that. Because we talked about yeah. Okay. So. Okay, so you should only say them during the day. You shouldn't say them too early. Now the Mishnah Berurah says, but before that, if you look in your siddur, it talks about the kior, the lever or a laver, whatever, what they used to wash from, and also the Trumas Hadeshen. Trumas Hadeshen was the first thing they did. A Kohen went up on the Mizbeach and took off some of the ash and took it away. Like clean out I don't want to say it that way, but like clean out the Mizbeach. It wasn't really that, but that's the idea. So those things you could say before day, because a Kohen could go into the Beis Hamikdash and wash their hands. There was a practical issue, but I'll leave that aside. Technically, they could wash their hands before day, right? And the same thing with the Trumas Hadeshen. They could do that before day also. So therefore, you could say them. So again, it's an interesting idea. If you say it, it's as if you did it. Again, it's a very powerful idea. Now, the Mishnah Berurah says that if you won't have a chance to say them, so then you could say even the korbanos, the parshos of the korbanos at night. Again, so it's an interesting idea. But then the Mishnah Berurah says something which I find is interesting. He brings up the question of these korbanos which are written in the siddur, tamid, ola, all chatas, all. Do you have to say them while you're standing? Right? Because when you bring we will bring a korban in the Beis Hamikdash, maybe very soon, hopefully. So you couldn't sit, right? You had to be standing. First of all, in general, you couldn't be sitting in the Beis Hamikdash anywho. But so the question is, do you have to stand? So there's a whole big thing about this. But the Aruch HaShulchan says something very interesting. He says it depends on who's saying it. He says, because if the person who's like Mr. Jacob, if he's a Kohen, so he has to stand. When he says, why? Because a Kohen, he did it. He will do it in the Beis Hamikdash, right? So when he does it, he has to be standing. So therefore, a Kohen has to stand.
After today, when a Kohen presents korbanos in the morning, they stand?
I don't know. I'm not a Kohen. I'm just a
stand. I don't actually see all.
I stand also, but that's because I'm just standing. It's not because I'm intentionally standing.
But actually, that leads to another question.
But let me just say, but he says, the Aruch HaShulchan says, but if the person is a Levi or Yisrael, you don't have to stand. That doesn't mean you can't stand, but you don't have to stand. The Aruch HaShulchan is saying he has to stand when he says the korbanos in the morning. It's interesting.
If saying korbanos is like you're doing it,
right?
Then for certain korbanos, how could anyone who's not a Kohen say it?
Well, because we're saying it as if we brought it, not as if we did it. Right? For example, actually, it would be a very good example. We'll get to it later, much later. Hashem. That is Mizmor L'Soda. We say after Hodu. Mizmor. So there's a halacha that you have to stand up there. Because like you bring a korban toda, again, it's a whole interesting idea. You only brought a korban toda if basically for things that you bench gomo for, right? If life endangering,
anyone
like that. But no, it's not so simple. So, but it's very interesting. Like every day we say Mizmor L'Soda, right? That's why. So what's the answer? The answer is you have to realize. Person wakes up in the morning, like I discussed a few days ago. Person wakes up in the morning. It's really a miracle. You don't appreciate it. But it's really a miracle that a person wakes up in the morning and everything works, hopefully. It's mamish something we got to appreciate. And we don't. But I say to people, this is one of the beautiful things about being a Torah Jew. You wake up in the morning, what do? You say all those brachos, we talked about them, right? So how many people appreciate that they could stand up straight? Until you're like 50% of people who get back problems, right? Like then then you appreciate. But how about the first 50, 60 years of your life? Do you appreciate you could walk? Right? Or again, in LA, I used to say this all the time. But when you make the bracha baruch har etzal hamayim, you really better appreciate. You should appreciate it, right? Baruch Hashem. And again, in Nevada is a little different. But like in LA, that the thing's not moving, that it's in one place. It's like it's amazing, right? How many people appreciate that? Maybe after an earthquake, they appreciate it for like 5 seconds. But so that gives such a fullness of life, and we appreciate all these things. So Mizmor L'Soda, again, we're getting a little far up the field, but again, that's the idea about saying the korbanos. Now, the Mishnah Berurah ends up with, again, this is the Mishnah Berurah Yud Zayin, all the way at the end. It says, Samar Rachmas Lo Aleinu is an Avel, shouldn't say the korbanos, all those korbanos. Why? Because the answer is because it's considered learning. Because all those things are Mishnayos or Brises, so you're learning, and an Avel is not allowed to learn. So therefore, an Avel shouldn't say it. Yeah, it's a very interesting idea also. That's during Shiva, right after Shiva. That came up, unfortunately, recently. Someone in the shul was sitting Shiva, Mr. Wolf. So the Kabbalim asked me, after he got a Shiva, could he get an Aliyah? The answer is yeah. Because why? You can't get Aliyah during Shiva because you're not allowed to learn. You have to, but after Shiva, you can get an Aliyah. Right. So now I think I don't think this is what I've seen in a number of places that this is why you see like even here we don't in my shul we used to say the Chazan used to say, and I'm trying to get him to do it here, that not just skip from Mekash Shem Chabarabim to Rabbi Shmuel Omer, but at least to say the Korban Atomid. We'll get to that. At least to say Korban Atomid. So but a lot of I think saying korban. I remember when I was a little boy in my father's shul. So all the men, they used to say all the korbanos. They said the whole thing. Say all the korbanos. I think where it's fallen into, I don't want to say disrepair, but where it's fallen out is because this concept. In other words, it's learning. It's Mishnayos and it's Brises, and so therefore, guys, a lot, and it is brought down in other in sources. It's not like a crazy idea that since you learn all day or you're learning, so you don't have to do that. Or learning in general is machaper. Learning Torah in general is machaper. So I think so. Unlike a lot of yeshivas, they don't say the korbanos. They don't say korbanos. So I think that's where it comes from. And so Baruch Hashem, a lot of people today, even they're the Baal Bus, but they learn sometime in yeshiva. So so they're used to not saying korbanos. So it stays. It sticks. So yeah. But anyways, that's that idea. Okay, let's go back upstairs. Zion. Kishemasayim Parshas Ha'olah. So one of the korbanos is mentioned is an olah. So a person didn't do a mitzvah or whatever, so they have to bring a korban olah. So after you say that, right, it's a very short thing. It's like 3 lines about korban olah, except for the Vilna Gaon. The Vilna Gaon is a lot longer for korban olah. But In the regular contemporary Sidurim, it's not too long. So after you say the Ola psukim, Yomar, you should say Yiratzon Milfanecha, should be your will Hashem, or you don't say Hashem's name. Sheizeh Chashuv Umekubal Ki'ilu Ikrati Ola. This should be important and accepted in front of you, Hashem, as if I brought an Ola. And so too, you would say a similar thing, but inserting instead of Ola, you say after you recite the psukim about a mincha or a shlamim, because all these things could be brought as a donation. They're not obligatory, right? So all these things, therefore, you ask Hashem that it should be accepted. Yeah.
On Shabbos and Yom Tov, right?
Correct. I was going to say that.
Sorry.
You don't say it on Shabbos and Yom Tov. The Mishnah Berurah brings that down, right? Or we'll see also other things also. Ches Yomar Imar Karbanos Pasuk V'Shachat Oso Al Yerach HaMizbeach Safon Lifnei Hashem. You should say when you say the Karbanos, the pasuk quote V'Shachat Oso Al Yerach HaMizbeach Safon Lifnei Hashem, that it should be slaughtered by the Mizbeach in the northern part of the Azara. So it's very interesting. The Mishnah Berurah says that today we say that line after the Korban Tamid. If you look at the Korban Tamid, it brings down this line, most Sidurim, V'shchad so Yerach HaMizbeach Safon Lifnei Hashem, V'zarku b'nei Aaron HaKohanim es Damo Mizbeach Saviv. Now, why do we say that? So if you look at the Mishnah Berurah Chaf, it's the last Mishnah Berurah on the page. V'shachat also the Isa ben Medrash, because it's brought in the Medrash. B'chol mi she'omer pasuk zeh, anyone who says this pasuk. Shachat also Yerach HaMizbeach Safon Lifnei Hashem, Zarku b'nei Aaron HaKohanim es Damo Mizbeach Saviv. HaKadosh Baruch Hu zocher akedas Yitzchok. Now, how is this again, let's not get into how is it associated with Akedas Yitzchok, but anyways, that's what Chazal say, that anyone who says this pasuk, Hashem remembers for that person Akedas Yitzchok. Akedas Yitzchok is such a powerful thing, right? One of the reasons we blow shofar is because to remind Hashem of Akedas Yitzchok. It's such a, we use a ram's horn, we go Akedas Yitzchok, it's such a strong schus. So we want Hashem to remember that. So now, so again, if you say it, Hashem remembers Akedas Yitzchok. So that's a very, very strong thing. It's very interesting over here. The Marsham brings down from the Pri Megadim that it's proper to say Tehillim before davening. Before davening. I know people who do this. They tell me that they say Tehillim before davening. They wake up early and they say Tehillim. It just like gets you into the day, like a Talmud of Ramosha. I don't know if it's before or after, but Talmud of Ramosha told me that Ramosha used to say Tehillim every day. So Ramosha used to do it. Brura tells you to do it. I mean, the Marsham tells you to do it. So okay.
Isn't that part of the purpose of Sugit Zimmer? I mean, we're saying some of Tehillim.
It's some Tehillim, but this is like your own personal Tehillim. Okay, we'll stop here for today, and we'll pick this up tomorrow. And we'll start Hashem the second Siman. Wow, moving breakneck speed here.
Excellent.